Welcome to Food for Thought, a series of shows produced by university students from 10 countries around the world. I'm Shay Hayes.
I'm Lindsay McLean. Shay and I are from Ryerson University in Toronto.
I'm Abby Lord, along with Jael Lutendila.
We are from Leeds Trinity University in the UK.
Our Food for Thought show will discuss all things relating to food, from street food around the world to food marketing, to the impact of food waste on the environment. In this episode, we will focus on health and nutrition.
Our first few stories will look at the struggles we all have eating healthy foods in a world filled with tempting foods that are delicious but bad for us. Abby, why don't you get us started?
55% of adults in the UK try to lose weight each year and can be tricked into super fads.
Every week, there is a new fad diet that promotes a new skinny tea or detoxic supplement endorsed by celebrities or influencers.
A popular food fad I've seen personally is the keto diet, which is a high-fat diet which incorporates a lot of proteins and cheese. And I know that I've seen a lot of advertisements where they're promising weight loss. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of things similar to that, and people think these diets are so healthy when in reality they're not getting so many nutrients. What's popular over there in the UK?
Well, to be honest, in Italy there is this tea called, they supposed to less your hunger, but I haven't never tried it because I like the tea, but I like my pasta dish better, to be honest. What about you, Abby?
Even in the UK, there's still quite a lot of super fads in terms of detox teas that say that can make your skin better or make you feel better. But again, I've personally never tried them myself. I prefer a good cup of Yorkshire tea.
Well, there are so many foods and drinks that are bad for us, but sometimes it's also about portion size. Most of us load our plates with much more food than we need. Our next story is from Fresno State University in California. Noah Chavez shares the different portion sizes that are different and prevalent in the United States.
Fresno State student Logan Ojeda usually eats on the run.
I'm not really home that often. I'm either hanging out with friends, going to work, or I'm at school, so I don't really have much time to really cook something at home. So I do tend to eat out a lot, I would say.
Although we all eat, we commonly do not follow the healthy portion sizes recommended here in the United States.
We just sort of glamorize overeating. It's not really the best thing, but that's sort of the way it's panned out in the United States of America.
The glamorizations of overeating through commercials and fast food restaurants adds to the issues.
Sort of the red and the yellow, those two colors stimulate people to eat more. So McDonald's, I think they have the red and yellow arches. So when they put that on, they know people are going to eat more, and then they make a bigger profit.
But what does a well-portioned meal look like?
So when you look at this, what do you see? So we're trying to teach people, when we look at this, that half of our plate should be with fruits and vegetables. So when we're trying to fill a plate, fill it with fruits and vegetables. And then over here, the proportionate of protein and the proportion of grain is kind of what we're going for.
But with everyone having different lifestyles filled with family, work, school, and assignments,
Bigger profit.
watching our portion sizes can be a hassle.
I feel like the American grind culture, if that makes sense, always have to be hustling, doing something, being productive, on a grind. There's no time to rest. There's no time to sleep, there's no time to eat a proper meal because you're always hustling on the move.
And that American grind culture will forever persist as long as we continue to push for success. I'm Noah Chavez at Fresno State in California in the USA.
I travel to the U.S. often, and I can see a big difference in the portion sizes. You go to a McDonald's here, and it's relatively normal, yet you go to the U.S., and it's just you have a huge hamburger and french fries and I can barely finish it. Do you go to the US and see the difference?
Yeah, I also experienced that. I totally agree. There's a huge differences in portions as well, especially in like foods that are not chain restaurants. I find I'm only kind of eating half of what they give me and then take the other half for leftovers.
We've been talking about things that we do wrong when it comes to eating. Maybe we should look at athletes for an example of how we should eat right. Every athlete wants to be able to perform their best. That requires a whole lot of training, practice, and recovery.
But in order to have athletes perform their best, diet is a huge factor that can make or break an athlete's performance. To many people's surprise, there's a large amount of science behind what an athlete eats, especially when it comes to different sports. I learned more about this topic, and here's my report. Although it may look it, performing like an athlete is not so easy. Nutrition plays a key role in an athlete's life where food is not only a necessity, but also a key to performing well. Meet Hannah Nickel. She's a fourth-year student at Guelph University and plays for both the rugby 15s and 7 team.
I would say I mainly started to realize what I ate affected my performance in when I started university. Mostly the amount of food, caloric intake kind of thing.
Meet Greg Luquette. He's a recent grad from Ryerson University and currently plays volleyball for the North Harbour Raiders Club and the New Zealand Beach Volleyball national team.
Towards the end of high school, I would say, is when I realized that food can impact my performance.
I get that asked a lot. What's more important, training or nutrition? But really it's they go hand in hand. So you can have the best training facility in the world and then you just don't eat literally enough protein, you're going nowhere.
I'll have yogurt and granola and some fruit. And I try to get eggs in for protein. I definitely try to start off the day with protein. For lunch, I've done chickpea salad, which is again, easy way to get in protein, vegetables. And then for dinner, I do a lot of stir fry because it kind of incorporates all the food groups, kind of just try to get a well-rounded assortment of foods. And that's what I'll do on a daily basis.
So I've been doing this for 15 years and I've only had maybe 5 or 10 clients in 15 years that came to my practice eating enough protein. It's just, despite all the bro science and protein, you got to do it. The guys I meet, they're still not actually, most of them are not getting enough. And of course the ladies aren't as well because they're scared of getting bulky. That is still out there, that myth as well. So
on an average day, I'd have cereal for breakfast. I've always been a big cereal guy. Often, some sort of sandwich for lunch. I generally eat quite a lot of meat. And yeah, dinner could be anything. A lot of meals I have include chicken. Before a game, especially the way my mom raised me, was always have a carbo load dinner.
So what is carbo loading? It's basically where you just have carbs at every meal, which most athletes should be doing anyways. But let's say it's a jiu-jitsu fighter or a professional fighter and they're dieting hard, dieting. And then you give them extra carbs, which is kind of just saying eat at the required amount. Your body fills up with glycogen, which is stored energy. Okay, you have to sort of customize that based on what's the typical sort of diet. Eating like an athlete means, being conscientious and prepared. You're going to be less inflammation, right? Which is also sort of longevity, but it's also your knees will actually feel better because you're eating more vegetables and, essential fats and things like that. The average person doesn't eat very well. So if we're speaking to that population and say what can it do for you to eat like an athlete? It's it will change their lives.
Yeah, so it was super interesting to talk to the nutritionists as well, the other athletes in the video. And I relate to them a lot. I've been doing athletics for a really long time and I've talked to a few nutritionists in the past. And I think like we were saying in the video, it's really important to focus on specifics when it comes to individuals and sport specific as well. Have you had any experience with any nutritionists in the past, Shay?
No, I haven't, but my cousin is a competitive swimmer, and I know her diet is drastically different from ours. She eats a ton of carbs because she's a competitive swimmer. What about you, JL, in the UK? What do you think about athletes' diets, nutrition?
Well, I have a friend who was a dancer, and I was used to look at what she ate, and I was surprised to see she used to eat no fast food. And that made me, look at what I eat. And that made me think that maybe I should implement some of those proteins that she was getting as well, because it's not really good to eat bacon sandwich every day, is it? What about you, Abby?
Well, I'm known to run marathons and 10Ks on a regular basis, so my diet is so important to me. It's me. Even I might be doing it wrong, but it's a lot of carbs, a lot of slow burning energy that I don't go through straight away, instead of fats and sugary food that burn off really quickly.
So this is my first year living away from home, and I find that it's a lot more difficult to make some more healthy meals for myself. But what I found to try and cope with that is to meal prep my foods to make sure I'm eating nutritious meals. What about you, Shay?
Well, I'm fairly lucky to say that I still live at home and my mom still cooks, but I really do enjoy cooking. I've always been involved in the kitchen. I love to bake so much, but sometimes I do tend to get lazy and know that, okay, well, someone else in my house is going to cook tonight. But how often do you eat fresh cooked meals or go out in the UK, JL and Abby?
Well, I cook on a regular basis. I have to with the lifestyle I live as a bartender, but I've always loved cooking since I was little because I watched my granddad cook. Like, my granddad was one of the best cooks I ever knew, and he proper inspired me to always want to cook for myself.
Wow.
How about you?
Well, I wish that was my case. I mean, I'm a bit lazy at cooking. I'm not going to lie to you. I was going to say that I love cooking, I love baking, but that's not the truth, unfortunately. I've got siblings, which make it easier, but I should get off my laziness and start really cooking, because it is a good skill, isn't it?
Yeah, I always find myself cooking the instant noodles here. That's definitely a go-to of mine. But yeah, I try and get as some nutritious meals as possible. But some of the bad habits we get into as students follow us into our working lives.
Studies have shown that a large proportion of workers are not taking the time to eat a suitable lunch during the business day, with many even neglecting to take a lunch break of any kind.
Nutrition experts have raised a concern over the detrimental effect this may have on people's health. Jessica Bailey from Leeds Trinity University has the story.
We're all familiar with the struggle to maintain a work-life balance, but what about when it comes to our health? A study in 2016 showed that 20% of employees eat at their desk, with 13% saying they don't take any time for lunch at all. I spoke to nutritional therapist and founder of the Well Nutrition Clinic, Jackie Lynch, about the importance of taking time to eat a suitable lunch during the business day.
Trick is to have a regular supply of what I would say is complex carbohydrate, that slow release carbohydrate that keeps you going during the day. So if you're skipping a meal, whichever meal it is, then your brain is less likely to be working as well. And lunch, of course, for most of us is a busy time. You know, you're at work or perhaps you're studying, but whatever you're doing, you need to be using your brain. So if you're not giving your brain the fuel, then you're going to be much more prone to that mid-afternoon crash that is so familiar to most of us.
Some of the eating problems we heard about in last story come from a steady diet of fast food. Britain consumes hundreds of million fast food and takeaway meals a week. And when we eat sugar, whether that's a piece of cake or a scoop of ice cream, our body experiences pleasure. But when does the pleasure start having an impact on our well-being and health?
The mental health services in the UK's National Health Service have been experiencing increased pressure and demand. Could fast food be to blame? Here's what I learned in the report on this story.
In today's society, it's so easy to buy and consume fast and processed food. But at what point does the food that we consume on a regular basis stop being enjoyable and start having a detriment to our mental health and well-being?
We eat when we're not hungry. We eat as a reward, we eat to punish ourselves, we eat to celebrate. There's all this kind of other stuff. So there's a whole load of cultural, really complex cultural factors that come into when we eat, why we eat, how we eat. And I've been involved in various sort of government campaigns and stuff, looking at fast food and trying to encourage people to eat healthy, as well as doing sort of grassroots stuff, kind of actually on the coalface, working with patients to address this. And actually, you do get quite easy come unstuck because patients will come back to you, or the general public will come back to you and say, but hang on, what is this bad for you? Is this good for you? Is this classed as junk food? Is this fast food? And so even that sort of very general, generic sort of idea of understanding what we mean by junk food is actually quite still problematic.
For many of us, food is no longer a priority or a necessity. It is something you do when you have the time. One Leeds bartender talks about her experience and her relationship with food as she lives such a hectic lifestyle behind the bar.
I struggle to get full 3 meals a day in, even 2 meals a lot of the time. So it's more quick energy, meal deals, chocolate bar here and there, and then you get to the end of the day and you either binge because you're really hungry, or you go to bed and you feel a bit meh. Which obviously impacts your mental health because you're getting less sleep, because you're not as fueled, you don't have all the energy that you could have had in the day. And then also having the kind of no exercise routine or eating routine is a big thing for me.
In many homes, processed food and junk food has become a staple at the dinner table. But should we be relying on it as much as we have been? I've been Abby Lord at Leeds Trinity University Leeds, United Kingdom.
That about sums it up for this episode of Food for Thought. My takeaway from this show is that in the future, when I finish university, I hope to make myself less lazy and eat.
No, for sure. Like JL said, I think I'm going to actually ask my mom to put some of her recipes in a cookbook so I can take it with me when I leave in the future.
You'll have to maybe give me that cookbook too. But watching all these stories, it's important to realize that you can definitely treat yourself to a candy once in a while, as long as you're eating a balanced diet. And maybe I'll go home and make a salad or a nice hearty meal right now.
There are so many other amazing episodes of Food for Thought as well that you do not want to miss. So make sure you check out the Facebook and social media for more.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you for watching.
Goodbye.
Bye.